As the first student board member of the San Diego Unified School District, Zach recognized how challenging it often is for student board members to get ready for their important roles. With this in mind, he founded and chairs the California Student Board Member Association, which works together to train students who serve on student boards to better represent their constituents, advocate for statewide youth measures, and support the effort to expand representation of students on school boards across the state. That was a mouthful, but with that being said, Zach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Zaid. Super excited to be here today and to be able to speak to Ed100 and all of the participants here today about what we at the California Student Board Member Association do. So I'm going to go to our next slide to begin. So welcome to CSVMA. I am super excited to be presenting to you all today. And just a little bit of background about what we specialize in and the types of students that we really try to work with. So our main focus is student board members, people that serve on their boards of education in their respective school districts, counties, and that position on the State Board of Education. And we work to focus on education and training to ensure that a student has what they need to be successful. We're trying to fight for students, we're trying to fight for their rights, and in order to do that, we need to know how to do that. But we also focus on a larger scale on student governance and school board governance to all levels that we see. So we're seeing school site councils, student advisory boards, district advisory councils, and our local control and accountability plans. Those are basically our general ideas of what we're focusing on. So if you fall into one of these categories, or you're looking to serve in one of these roles at some point in time, we're a really great organization to help you get there and to ensure that we see that you're successful. We have so many ideas as students. We're ready to fight for those ideas, but we need to know how to do it. A school board is complicated, and as we have all learned this week through sitting through sessions, the school board really is important, but in order to be effective on a school board, you have to know how to make the change. And that's where we come in as CSVMA. Again, my name is Zachary Patterson, and that's me. I'm the student board member of San Diego Unified School District down in Southern California. All right, so I want to set the tone of what we're looking at today. When we talk about meaningful student engagement and we look at the importance of it, we recognize these second two words, student engagement, but that word meaningful shows something different. It's the idea of not just being passively listened to, not just speaking up without any follow-up, but being meaningfully involved in the systems that create our school districts and then that create our counties and our state. It's easy sometimes to bring up a complaint and to say, hey, there's something wrong. But it's much harder to get to a place where you're actually being heard, you're being seen, and your words are becoming the change that we want to see in our communities. It's what's necessary for any school to be successful, but it's not always what happens. So when we talk about our association, I want you all to think about these positions that you can be in and these positions that you can really make change in, and ask yourself, how am I going to do that? And how am I going to be successful? And that's what we do when we set our scene, when we go through our training, and we talk about how are you going to accomplish your goals in these roles in order to ensure that you represent your constituents. CSVMA doesn't tell you what to do, but we say, if you want to do something, we're going to help you get there, and we're going to help you know how to do it specifically, so you can be the one to empower students in your school district, and we can increase that representation across the board. So our purpose and what we focus on, 4 things: support the training and success of student board members, train students serving on official districts committees, advocate on a statewide level, and expand student board members. So one of the things I want to start out with is I'm going to put up a poll right now. If we are all able to put up that poll, if that sounds good, I'd love to hear if any of you are currently serving in these roles. If we can put up that poll right now, if it's available. All right, if we can display the results. Great, I'm glad to hear that. We have quite a lot of student board members. That's exciting. School site council members, we have quite a few. LCAP committee members, district advisory council members, and student advisory board members. So a very good and broad outreach of where people are, of what roles people are serving in. That's really exciting. And it just shows the impact that you can make when we work together. So again, our main purposes, I want to go through just a few of them to look at what we're working on. We talked about training, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail on some of what we offer specifically. So I'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to focus specifically on 3 and 4, advocating on a statewide level and expanding student board members. What we do at CSVMA is we provide a unified front of students that are advocating when they actually serve in governmental roles. So the California School Boards Association, for example, is a group that gains its legitimacy because they are representative of local elected officials. As student board members, as school site council members, as student advisory board members, we are actual representatives in our school district. And because of that, we have a unique ability to lobby, to engage in advocacy, to ensure that we receive the things that we need to be successful. Just this year, our California Student Board Member Association is proud to be the primary sponsor of Assembly Bill 824, which is working to expand student board members to charter school governing boards and county boards of education, ensuring that we have representation at all levels of governance. That's just a little bit about what we've worked on today. Some of you might have seen this morning that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of students for free speech in a case called Mahanoy Area School District versus BL. A great example, something that I'd encourage you all to research. That was some of the work of the California Student Board Member Association in being one of the leaders of an amicus briefing of student board members from across the nation. That's some of our work and some of the exciting ways that you can all be involved to support students, and you can see this advocacy at the statewide level. And then finally, expanding student board members. When we look at that, we're seeing the importance of, if you have a school district that does not have a student board member, we have a process to support you to get that student to serve in your school board. All right, I want to go to a quote quickly to think about some of this. It is not enough to simply listen to student voice. Educators have an ethical imperative to do something with students, and that is why meaningful student involvement is vital to school improvement. That really, really sums up what we're here for, what all of us are here at this conference for, and what we at our association do. We are here to ensure that your voice matters and that your voice is there. Anyone can speak up, but to speak up strategically, to follow up, to move forward, we want to help you do that. And our idea, our mission statement, we believe that students are essential to school boards, and their unity allows for meaningful representation of California student voice in California's diverse and ever-changing education system. A united front of student board members will cultivate student agency. That's what we're about, and that's what we focus on when we want to support you. All right, I want to play a quick video so you can all get a better idea of what a student board member does and hear it from a few people. Give me 1 second.
Hi, my name's Emily Belsma. I'm a senior at Poway High School and the student board member for the Poway Unified School District. I think being a student board member is so important because it allows us to be a voice for and represent our students on and to the Board of Education, and really to encourage that civic engagement, which is so important in our climate today. Also, something that I'm proud of, or rather excited about as a student board member, is the work I'm doing right now with our Black student unions to help further racial equity within my district.
Being a student board member is so important because it gives you the chance and opportunity to engage in discussions and topics that affect both yourself and fellow students around the entire country.
My name is Francis Wavillo, and I'm the Los Angeles Unified School District student board member. During my time as student board member, I was able to pass the first ever Student Bill of Rights for my school district. I believe the position of student board member is so crucial because we are the ones who represent our constituents, we empower student voice, and we encourage student participation within our school district.
Nobody really knows what it's like to be a student on a school board except you, the student board member, and nobody can better tell what policies work and what don't. As a student board member in my district, I got to found the first Student Advisory Council, be the first student representative on the Cultural Proficiency Task Force, and keep my student body updated with coronavirus developments.
Hello, my name is Joshua Camarillo. I've been the student board member for Fresno Unified School District for 2 years now, and it's really important for student advocacy and for that student board member role, because without it, the Board of Education has no idea what's going on in a student's life and from the student's perspective. You are that bridgeway between the board and the student population, which makes your position very, very important and unique.
Great, so I think that gives you all an idea of what a student board member does, and not just hearing it from me, but hearing it from a broad variety of students. what it's like to be in that role, and serving on a larger level, what it's like to be in a school site council or any other level of governance that you're in at your school. So when we talk about our training, I want to focus on three things that we're going to be looking at, which I hope you'll join us at in the future. Our training on the student to adult barrier, one of our big focuses. We recognize that there will always be a divide between students and adults. Adults, unfortunately, oftentimes don't recognize us as co-equals, and we recognize that, and we at CSVMA actively work to counter that and to find ways to make our voices valuable and effective despite that work and despite those challenges that we face. Our second, our basics of California governance systems. Ed100 talks about this, and we move to it from the student perspective. What does it mean to be in these roles? What does it mean to understand an LCAP? And where is your role as a student specifically? We're going to focus on these. We're going to dive in. And in a place where your school might not give you those governance resources, we're here to train you and help you. And finally, that student role in governance. Where do I fit into California's education system? It's not just about you being a student, it's about you being a change maker and one that wants to fight for a better and more equitable education system. As I said, a little sample curriculum that we'd be focusing on. We identify 3 Ds to identifying the suppression of student voice: delegitimization, demonization, and double standard. And when we look at these 3 Ds, one of the things we'll do is we'll break them down and we'll talk about what does it mean to be delegitimized when you're on your school board, when you're at a meeting. What are the comments that trigger this and how do you combat this? Demonization, when we talk about, oh, you shouldn't be here, you're not responsible enough, you're not. Those are common words you're going to hear. And we're here to say that's not true. We know that's not true. And this is why we know it's not true. And finally, combating that double standard. How many things are you told that you have to do that your adult counterparts are not told they have to do? We're here to say, and we're here to help you understand that these are things that you don't have to go through. And these are things that we want to support you so you can focus on governance that better represents your students, rather than focusing on other more trivial matters that oftentimes can consume your experience on a school board or in a school site council. And then we go to our other one, collaboration, our next step. Understanding personal experiences and action are the ones I want to highlight today. In understanding, what am I doing in this role and why am I here as a student? We'd have you answer this question. And in our training, I encourage you all to right now think about that. If I'm serving in one of these roles, what am I doing in this role? And why am I here as a student? If I'm answering that question, I'm here because I recognize that there's a strong disconnect between students and the school board. And as the student board member, I know that when we talk about issues like mental health, like racial justice, like student representation, like climate change, I bring up a perspective that oftentimes my adult school board members do not see. And that's what that understanding is. Personal experiences. How am I doing my job in comparison to other students doing the same job? And that's not meant to be a competition, but rather an understanding of if this student board member is doing it, if this member on a school site council is doing this, then I can be powerful as well. And I can use my influence to positively impact the students in my school district, in my school. And action. Am I advocating for students in the same way that my counterparts are? Are you taking action? Are you allowed to take action? All things that we know the rights you have, but you might not know them and your school might not know them. And we're here to make sure that we bridge that divide. Finally, our other services, our Take a Seat campaign. If you do not have a student on your school board, that's what we work towards. There's a legally mandated process. We will walk you through every step and we will ensure that if you want to serve on your school board, we will make sure we can get you there. And we'll make sure that you have an understanding of what it means to represent thousands of students, tens of thousands of students, and that we're there to help and to be guidance in this difficult process, but process nonetheless that is fulfilling and makes a meaningful difference. Advocacy and lobbying, as I talked about, moving at the statewide level, moving at the district level to support different initiatives. One of the things I did in my school district was change my absence code to allow excused absences for mental health, something I'm very proud of. And our nationwide network of student board members. We currently work with 2 other student board member associations, one in Oregon and one in Maryland. And we work together, we collaborate, and we discuss these issues. And we want to provide those resources, whether you're a student board member or whether you serve in any other position, or whether you just want to learn a little bit more about what that's going to look like to be an effective student leader that serves in one of these roles in the future. Our bottom line is we are ready to support your work as a student in your district. You know what students need best, as you are one, as we are one. And when we use our voices and when we speak up and when we know how to speak up, we can be effective. And the final thing I want to mention is that we recognize that when we play any sport, the only way we can get better is practice. And it's the same thing here. We'll give you the resources, we'll give you the practice, and then we can go out and make a difference. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it back to Zay to moderate any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach, for preparing that presentation. That was just so thoughtful. And I think it kind of really encompassed everything that one needs to know about being a student board member. We just have time, unfortunately, for one quick question. And that question goes to Lexi, who asks, what does a day in the life of a student board member look like?
Whew, that can be a tough one sometimes. So on your busy board days, you might wake up at 7 a.m. You might read the board agenda for any final public comments that came in the day of. You go to school, maybe you play your after school sport, you head home, you're meeting with the superintendent before to get a better understanding. You're talking to any district staff, you're checking with your student advisory board. Are these things that we've worked on? Are these things that you have questions on? And then you're heading into the board meeting in that evening. Some days you're going to be going to schools to visit to get a better understanding. You're speaking with your student population, but it's definitely not a part-time job. It can be looked at as a full-time volunteer job. So it is a challenge, but if you're really dedicated and you want to see the change, that's what you're putting forward.
Awesome, Zach. This has been just such a great opportunity to hear you pitch CSVMA, and hopefully a lot of the students were able to take a lot away from that, and we'll contact you to sign up.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure presenting.
Awesome. There have been so many questions. I know everyone in the chat, but we will get to those questions and we will forward them over to Zach if they haven't been answered already. Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach.
Thank you for having me.